Paul. Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. It's one of those things when you're hosting, you never remember to hit something. And thank you. Um, all right. So I am going to read. I actually have several Miami poems, so it was hard to figure out which one to read, but here's one. This is from my collection, Who Will Cradle Your Head, which is about climate change and anxiety. And this poem is about um, birds in Miami, and it's actually about these people that um, there's a group that volunteer to collect dead birds that hit buildings during migration season, and this is called the Bird Collector, and it is very Miami. Okay, the Bird Collector. Last summer's pulse nudged the tide, noticeable as salt graining the seawall, but the mangroves are pulling back, their roots like frayed brooms holding on to detritus. Spoonbills, gangly and roseate, have already left Biscayne Bay for higher ground. Somehow, this hasn't been registered as a fact we can grieve. It is my job to collect the dead that circle Miami's mirrored light. Black-throated warblers lit by a night shine, northern parulas searching out a distant home. Each bird crashes, dreaming of a windowed horizon, not realizing the sea and its dotted green is already behind them. Everyone here is looking for more space and time. A group of warblers is called a confusion. Spoonbills are called a bowl. I lay them out in lines like ruffled silver, a tide of feathers, a confusion of bodies, their mouths clattered open in search of food, a name lilting their small tongues. They stare out as if wondering which species is called a drawerful. There's my Miami poem for you, Nicole. Um, it's a little earlier than you wanted to be passed on, Nicole. So where do you want to take it at this point?
I think you should read another one. You did that one so well.
All right,
Can you
I'll
do
read
that?
my I'll read the Golden Girls one.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you read my mind. You're so amazing.
Okay, so this is also from my collection. Um, so thinking about my parents moved to Florida and for their snowbirding, right? And so I am always coming to grips with that, them going down there and not being around, and them for a while that all they talk about was the lanai, we're here for the lanai, and it just made me think of Golden Girls and made me think of um one day what will happen to them down there if climate change really hits. And I just had this fantasy of New Florida, which is half underwater, and it's called The Divers Off the Coast of New Florida. The divers off the coast of New Florida watch the Golden Girls as an archaeological reality before they close their eyes. Splash over the bow. Imagine the water's rush sounds like an applause line. Their first breaths are canned laughter. The bottom follows a grid. Neighbors' lawns, faded ellipsis of a crosswalk. Mary peers out of her garden grottos, her robes a billowed invertebrate, passive, patient, forgiving each coral's miraculous growth with an upturned palm. Stilts bear each home, swell and root like mangroves. Each wall displays molded water lines. A canyon's black strata marks time. Here, when flooding stopped. Here, the parabola that pushed Noah to collect cedar and move to higher ground. A fin swats the water like a paper fan dismissing fantasy. The lanai is empty, stares out into a blue that darkens without stars. The divers listen to echoes, keep waiting for Betty to quip, "This is why we moved here," gesturing earnestly at the vacant lot. Their laughter, at this depth, only sounds like breathing.
I love that poem. You know, it's a quick moment to plug the Stay Golden anthology. And also in Miami, they are having a pop-up restaurant. It's the Golden Girls Experience. And I may or may not already have some tickets to that. They're having a drag brunch on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So, oh my God, Adrian. Sorry, I got so excited. And Michael, okay. Adrian is, I knew someone was going to bring it for me. I can't hear what you're saying, my friend. I don't know that your audio is working.
Said I brought my sequins.
Hell yeah, you did. You look great. Thank you. Thank you for representing. So good to see you, Michael. Thank you for being here. Love you. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We have more people. Hi, Anton. I just have to say hi to everybody because I'm so excited. Thank you for taking this time on a Saturday. Yael, Lisa, Kevin. Hi, Chris and Lori. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So, okay, at 11:11 exactly, we're supposed to do this toast. So I don't know if you have your drinks ready. I know I'm being really extra on a Saturday morning, but I have this amazing gold margarita shaker. I don't know if you can see with my filter that has a deer head on it that my dear friends Leela and BJ, I know you're hiding because you're probably hungover or something, but I have this beautiful gold shaker and I've been waiting for the right moment to use it. Okay, so I'm gonna shake up this margarita. I should probably mute it because it's gonna be super loud. And if you have a drink that you would like to shake up as well, feel free to do it with me. And if you can't drink, that's okay. And I'm sorry if this is triggering for everyone, but I did put a content warning out there that we were going to be having margaritas. So that was sort of your advance notice. Okay, so we're going to shake up our drinks. And also, if you purchased a copy of Versace, there was a special. Ariana unfortunately couldn't be with us because she had something come up, but she put together these beautiful little bookmarks. Damn, this filter's covering everything up. And at the bottom of the bookmark, there's a recipe. It's Gianni's 24 karat golden margarita. And this is the actual recipe for the golden margarita at Gianni's restaurant at the Versace Mansion. So it does cost $24. I'm not going to say whether or not it's worth it, but I will tell you that I've just given you the key. I've saved you $24. Okay. So if you want, you can try to mix up this drink. It's pretty good. It's very heavy. I personally recommend that you swap out the Cointreau for Grand Marnier because I'm extra like that. But, you know, if you like Cointreau, that's cool too. So I'm going to shake up my drink. I'm going to put it over here so it's not too loud. Okay. Oh my God, it just went all over the floor. Okay. Because I didn't have the cap on tightly enough. Oh my God, holy crap. Okay. It'll be okay though. All right. Yeah, I'm a disaster in the morning. Let me just tell you. Okay. I think that all right, it is 11:11. We've done really well. Half of my drink is on the floor, but we're going to ignore that. And hopefully the cat doesn't drink it. Okay, I just want to take a quick moment to toast to poetry, to friendship. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. I really am. It means a lot. It really, really does. So thank you so much for spending this time, and cheers to friendship, poetry, and all of that. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all.
Ancha.
Whoa, dude, that's strong. Oh my God. Okay. I also haven't had a chance to have breakfast. Probably isn't the best thing to put first thing in my stomach, but all right, we're going to roll. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to someone who really needs no introduction because he is so fabulous. And before I have him read, I just want to say last night, Richard Blanco, our poet laureate of Miami-Dade County, is now a playwright, and he had the Florida premiere of his very first play, Sweet Goats and Blueberry Senoritas. So I want to give a round of applause to Richard because it was an amazing performance, packed theater. He never ceases to amaze me with his creativity. So Richard, the floor is yours to read whatever you feel inspired to read.
Sure. Thanks, Nicole. And yeah, it's very exciting. I don't need a drink because I think I still have plenty of my blood alcohol level is probably still up there. But that's the best cure for a hangover, right? It's another drink. So, but we'll see. Maybe by the end of the show. Thank you, Nicole. I think I speak for all of us here when besides your great work, just how much you are so generous and have moved to the poetry community and support the poetry community and have advanced the poetry community in Miami so wonderfully. So thank you for that. And, you know, we as poet laureate, we work very closely together, and like Nicole is just amazing. So thank you. Just to get the something, right? Like we're reading for a couple poems. Yeah.
You can read for anywhere, for probably about 10 minutes. Does that work for you?
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. So these are from my new book, which is a new and selected, which is the first of its kind for me. And like I've been saying, they're kind of like, I just had these children, but they can't talk to me yet. So they don't tell me, they can't tell me what they want, what they want to grow up to be. Like, so they're kind of like, I'm still trying to, as I think it happens with all of us who write this stuff. And then the poems keep on teaching us what they actually mean to us. So we're going to read a short one, which is the very first poem in the book. And I think what this poem is about, for me, it's this long old childhood memory, but it's really the separation for me of like first understanding language, or the, as the title is called, the splintering of your sort of becoming conscious, and also becoming conscious of not just language, but of your mortality in some weird way, in that weird moment that we all have sometimes, perhaps in our childhood. It's called The Splintering. As a boy, I was all boy, my body part of all that was. My ears were the wind my cheeks heard, my mouth the thunder that roared in my chest. My face in the face of rain puddles cupped in my palms, my lips the wet petals my nose kissed. And I blindly saw the stars as my eyes, luring me that night to climb up our backyard mango tree. Its, its bark, the thick flesh of my hands, needled with splinters when I fell into my mother's terrible cries. I, Dios mío. I couldn't grasp her urgency, why she had to tenderly soak my hands, as if I was some hurt animal she had to heal, why she spent hours pulling out every splinter with her tweezers, a surgeon operating on me in her housecoat and terry cloth slippers. Why her teary words? It's okay, just a few more, mijo. You could have died. Die? I knew nothing of dying. Then she kissed the last bead of blood on my finger and said, I love you. Meaning what she'd love forever was more than my body, which suddenly split from me into abstract breaths in the mouths of my mind, for the first time saying to myself, death, joy, loss, saying, I love you too, Mama. And then, see my Zoom here. This is a poem about a really fucked up day, or one of those days where you're just like, this book is a lot about surrenderings, in some ways about letting go of stuff, letting go of the urgency to find home and paradise, letting go of family shit, letting go. I'm 55, so it's like the time to like fucking let go of things. It's my middle-aged book, I guess. But also surrendering also to my art, different kinds of surrenderings. This was, you all might appreciate the story. During the pandemic, as you all know, probably all know, the Betsy has a writer's room. And so they had some cancellations, and they asked me if I wanted to spend a few days there. I'm like, sure. Like I was living with my mother at the time, who wouldn't? But I was so wound up, like I just could not. I thought, oh sure, I'll just write at the Betsy. And like I was so wound up with so much shit and responsibilities and duties. And this was a way of like, this is what came out of those 3 days there. It was just letting it all go. And the beach is for me is like my church at the end of the day. It's the place where I go to rejuvenate. But it gets harder and harder as you get older to get into that space, right, of just being. So it's called Why I Needed To. Because I faithfully reply to every email from the absurd gods of urgency who punish my good deeds by leaving me empty when I empty my inbox. Because I praise hating myself, broken into my calendar's time-slotted tasks, slicing me thin with the thick duty of being everything, yet nothing to anyone, not even me, because I remember birthdays, but often forget my own. and my mother's, because she is bittersweet as the Cuban coffee she brews after Sunday dinners, because she loves me only in the language of her cooking. My favorite dish, carne con papas, because of my bland father sunk in his armchair without me on his lap, because he never told me the life story I read only in the half moon of his eyes, the morning he gazed into mine, then died. Because my brother and I need to drink to share our shared hurt at happy hour, so unhappily grateful for love's incredible wreckage, because my husband, who's still scared of his adoration for me as we embrace sleep, still doubts how long I'll nest my dreams in his arms, because I never told him. Always. Because I'm just as afraid of needing him more than myself, because I'm not the one I've curated on Instagram, oh so humbled by, oh so grateful for so many posted blessings with my posed selves, because tonight I again remember I'm nothing but a mirage, slowly disappearing on my porch, sitting with half the life I have left, still trying to piece how I fit into the puzzle of the constellations, because I've drank their shots of light and one too many martinis, because I'm cheering mindlessly to the moon, to my wish for immortality amid the clouds of my own cigarette smoke, because I should quit doubting my life will be more than these anonymous bones, because I need to believe in something else truer than me. That's why today I had to take myself away to the beach, because I needed to imagine my father as that father at the shore, handing a bouquet of seashells to his son, because I needed to taste that love, be as simple as a mother who remembers to pack sodas and sandwiches, because I needed the seagulls tending the horizon to teach me again to be as still as them, to peer calmly into the void of the skies I face, because I needed to hear the waves break and break and break and break me into the lines of this poem, because I needed to burn, to see myself shine just as beautifully as the rosy glow of the sunlight bathing my eyes closed. And I'll do one more. Let's see what my babies want me to, what babies want are crying for attention here. um, this is, I became obsessed for some reason, not obsessed, but really contemplating the difference between joy and happiness, and how happiness is really an egoic idea of permanence, whereas joy is more about impermanence. Joy is about just appreciating one little moment, right? And so it's a basically it's a note to myself, talking to myself in third person, which I do all the time anyway, but it's just here in the poem. Self to self. What have you yearned for all your life, Richard? You who's aged in me. Do we know enough now to know that our answer isn't happiness? Not the sweet petals of some flower we've imagined should forever scent our heart. Not the nomad clouds we've tried to hold still in our eyes, just long enough to see our soul eternally at home in them across a homeless sky. Not the face of the moon, a mime whose gestures of shadow and light have entertained our desire for immortal glory. Not the persistence of waves we've wanted to believe are as fated and willed as we've wished to be. Oh, Richard, have I been asking you the wrong question? Maybe it's not what we've yearned for, but what we've always lived on. Isn't our answer the joy of all the temporal moments that grace us? A bud just before it blooms or leans into its wilt, a cloud just before it's sighed from a wave's wisp and drifts into the destiny of wind, the dark moon free of our eyes just before it ascends into the slavery of its sunlit cycles, the tides just before the purpose of their ebb and flow, and Richard just before we are Richard, just before the greed of our ego rises, needing to shine before we slip into yet another day. Thank you, everyone.
That was so beautiful as always. Thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you.
And I think Ariel, we're gonna have you read next. I'm so grateful for you, Ariel, and thank you again for blurbing my book. I really appreciate it, and Richard as well. You're up, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. It was a pleasure to have the chance to read your book, probably before most other people. So I'm so happy for you. And so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Feel bad that I don't have a drink. I don't know if you guys can see on my phone. I probably shouldn't show you, but I have the cover for my new book, and I actually do have a margarita in hand on that cover.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see it. So I kind of have a drink in spirit. So I'm just gonna read a couple of poems for you guys. I was switching up my poems as I heard Richard read. So this first one, this is the most recent poem that I've written actually, and yeah, the title just kind of tells where it comes from. I read this. It was like a newspaper headline. So this is called "After Reading That Scientists Want to Use AI to Decipher Whale Language." What good will it do to transcribe the lyrics of their music, their mournful earth elegies, upload it to Spotify and deliver them the residuals of penny fractions? Anything can be monetized, even the whales of whales. So many human voices go unheard, muted, buried in rubble, drowned in drowning. Artificial intelligence, artificial empathy. When the whales start a climate change podcast, science will pull the plug. And this next one, this is kind of an elegy for Churchill, which closed during the pandemic, and I don't think has reopened. And I felt for that prank. Somebody put a sign that says the Chili's opening soon above the Churchill sign, and that made me very sad. So I wrote this poem in response. It's called "Even Churchill's is Closing." Yes, named after a war criminal. Yes, his ugly mug adorned the entryway, but still we defied his baby-faced scowl with our dancing, our sweat misting the air, someone circling and stomping until they were vomiting in the bathroom that looked like it was cleaned maybe once every presidential term, re-elections not included, watching the Jacuzzi Boys or Radio Boxer or some other flicker of light that carried us through yet another night of rum and cokes and the cheapest beer imaginable, keeping the rest of the world at bay by singing at the top of our young lungs until our voices ghosted us and our limbs wobbled like jello shots as we staggered into that incoherent darkness, bracing itself to be smothered by dawn, as we staggered out like wounded soldiers, arms around shoulders, holding each other up in the gravel that passes for a parking lot where the man in his reflective vest, who we paid $5 to watch our car from potential thieves, including him, salutes us with a smile bright as the rising sun. And this next one, I think I read this when I read with y'all before last time. But this came from a memory that I thought couldn't be real, and then realized it was. I thought I saw Evel Knievel try to jump over the Grand Canyon when I was a kid, but it turned out that it was his son. So this is one of those like strange childhood memory poems. This is called "Watching Robbie Knievel Jump the Grand Canyon, 1999." My mom's first birthday post-divorce, duplex in the sidewalkless outskirts of Orlando, one TV for the four of us, one bathroom for the four of us, two bedrooms for the four of us. The frogs who made a home of the window AC cheered the daredevil on. You can make a home anywhere, I guess. We watch Robbie Knievel rev his motorcycle to achieve what his father could not, a second-generation dream dressed all in white. We watch as he angels through the air, an inverse Icarus for a few seconds of flight, but a crash landing is still a landing, and a home is a home is a home. And this is another Florida poem. Again, this is something that maybe y'all did when you were kids. Me and my brother used to do this. We would catch lizards, and they would get very upset. They would kind of bare their little mouths, and they would clamp down on everything. So we would kind of have them clamp down on our ears and our lips, and just walk around the neighborhood with like lizards hanging off of our faces when we were little kids. So this is called Young Lizard Kings. Under the Florida sun's stern gaze, parents too busy fighting to watch us in the yard, my brother and I hunt for lizards in the loquat trees, brimming with many suns, chase them skittering across the porch or through the tall grass. If you pinch their tail, it snaps off and they shoot into the foliage like bottle rockets. You have to grab them by the middle with thumb and forefinger like a cigarette, their little mouths open in rage or fear, baring tiny, harmless teeth at us. We raise them as though offering them to the sun before offering them our earlobes and lower lip, letting them clamp down in rage or fear, and wear them as living jewelry, breathing green gems clinging to our skulls. We roam the neighborhood like this, little deformed Mayan deities, young lizard kings, our providence adorning our faces, seeking to remake this world. And just one more. So I figured the last poem, just because now I'm thinking about like Miami Beach and all those great readings that happened at the Betsy. And there was a time where I was living in Carroll City, and so it was just such a nightmare to get out to the Betsy. I would commute like 90 minutes and then spend another hour looking for parking and just being like the most horrendous mood to go to a poetry reading at like this very fancy hotel. And that's where, so this poem kind of sparked my second book of poems, A Sinking Ship Is Still a Ship, and all those Florida poems. But this is in my first book, so I figured I'd read an oldie about this, quite literally going down to the Betsy to go to a poetry reading, but just being in a very foul mood. So thank you again for having me. It's called Magic City Ruse. Miami Beach burns with the insatiable ego of a galaxy, bright enough to refuse admittance to any stars in the night sky. I walk its neon grid past hotels and restaurants, sidewalk cafes that pulse with radioactivity like the lanes of a pinball machine, or a Twilight Zone town that's stuck in Christmas time, crowds made up of everyone I've ever hated, talking too loudly or stepping on my shoes, or both, as I trudge to a poetry reading. Awful music spews into the street, and I think this is how whales must feel about sonar, how it drives them crazy enough to try and defy evolution and crawl onto land, though not crazy enough to beach themselves here. To distract myself, I search for the motel from Scarface, where Tony escapes with the blood of his chainsawed friend splattered all over him in a drop top speeding down Ocean Drive. Tony, dead face down in his living room fountain like Gatsby laid out poolside. What is it with dreamers dying bloody by the water? Crossing 13th, I'm almost run over by a Ferrari, red as the stop sign it ignored. I take solace in the fact that scientists believe Miami will soon be swallowed by the Atlantic like a child gulping his vegetables whole so he won't have to taste them, and picture the neon being extinguished, the stupid Ferrari encrusted with shit-colored barnacles. The idiot behind the wheel leans into the horn, the blare masking his curses and mixing with the nonsense conversations floating up from the crowded sidewalk, the garbage pop blitzing out of cafe speakers, hostesses yelling out drink specials in frenzied desperation. But beneath all that, I hear another sound that trembles from across the street, waves pawing at the shore, the ocean mumbling its desire for the day that it will drown out all the lights and noise for good and let the stars return to this night sky. Oh, let it be soon. Let it be soon. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Ariel. And next up is my dear friend Caridad, who I know is just going to blow us away as she always does with her beautiful words. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nicole. And I just want to toast to you again. And you do so much for all of us all the time. So it is really our pleasure to be here and celebrate you and your wonderful book today. And I was very honored to also be able to blurb this book and get a chance to look at it before everybody else. So cheers to you, my friend. So first, I'm going to start with one of the poems in FERSACE by by Nicole. And it is one of my favorites. We were talking about this, and it's not one of the lighter poems, so I promised to balance the reading out with a little bit of levity, but I'm gonna, that's just how I go. That's how I do. So I'm gonna read Rifle Season from FERSACE. Where I come from, there's a season for guns, as if rifles should be celebrated like Christmas. There's a smell. I'd like to call it November, but it's a special blend of blood, rust, estrus, and a fall so cold it freezes the hair inside my nose. There's a ritual. It's men dressed in camouflage and hunter orange. It's the law. And they stay out late on the 40 and chug 40s, perch up in trees or shelter in blinds, chew tobacco, and build big fires. Where I come from, it's also about the merchandise. The nice rack shirts and mounted deer heads on the wall. Not surprisingly, racks are one reason men prize the buck more than the doe. There's a sound out my window where I come from. It's ear-splitting gunfire and the fight between my uncle and cousin who thought I would never speak again. There's a name for the soft boys where I come from. The ones who don't drive big trucks and don't refer to women as broads you just load up and throw in the back. Where I come from, hunting is a blood sport. And it breeds bloodthirsty boys who think it's okay to say, do what I say, or I'll shoot you. There's also a mascot, a dead deer, purple gray tongue out, gutted and hanging from the rafters of the garage, the same purple gray of the deer liver my dad left out on the counter for my mom to cook. She said it reminded her of afterbirth and made her gag. I love that. So this is one of my more recent poems that was published in under a warm gray linden. And it's about negotiating the new terrain of after Don't Say Gay, because I am consistently insisting on saying gay. So gay, gay, gay. Elizabeth and I negotiate. Elizabeth and I negotiate over what we can afford once we get to Charleston, the holy city, where churches outnumber everything but bars. Our favorite one on Queen Street, where I kissed her on New Year's in 2015, insisting she shouldn't worry because we had a right to feel safe, even in the South. I felt entitled to splurge on a horse-drawn carriage where we cuddled in full sight, got us a king-sized bed and $30 shrimp and grits I paid for with cash I earned after withholding tax, like the couples to our left and our right. We dropped a bundle because after years spent hiding, we knew there were worse things to spend than money, like the time we could never get back. But this poem is not about that. Today, we gauge the exact amount of PDA we can afford. We take kissing off the table, tell each other it's a turn on to wait until we get inside. We feel brave when we allow ourselves the risk of holding hands in the holy city, where we are now relearning how to be afraid. Okay, I'm going to shift to fun because I promised. This is very much a Miami poem, and the title alone will give you a little bit of context. It's called Quinceañera. Papi was too cheap and Mommy was too weak to celebrate my quinces in the grand fashion of some of my friends, who enjoyed parents willing to mortgage the house to peddle their pochunguitas into the right social circles. But I didn't mind, because I had been to the Biltmore, where the super rich threw soirees and their money around. I'd seen a particular Cuban-American princess descend on a zirconium-studded quarter moon that brought forth a gasp from the guests as the birthday girl smiled, tipped back, and cracked her head on Carrera marble. And once at the Big Five Club, where underwater ballerinas could be had for an extra $300, I saw a water nymph slam back 3 shots of tequila right before showtime, only to pass out, the party busted up by a recu hot paramedics who came to resuscitate her back to the horror of a shrieking 15-year-old, 1,000 layers of sodden lavender pooling at her feet. The kind of chiffon I'd never seen at Angelita's Salon de Quinces in Hialeah, my favorite of all the quince spots, where third-generation cousins gathered for generic booze, dressed to the same shabby nines, whooping it up as they waited for the pink scallop shell to fall open, drawbridge slow, and reveal a perky pearl, rouged and posed on velvet, compulsory crinolines and organza fanned out beneath a crunchy taffeta gown, trumpeting the arrival of yet another available cubanita, corseted assets waiting to be plucked by any one of the red-palmed boys lining the walls. So thank you. So Ariel and Richard, I also am reading a beach poem. It is a beach that is no more. It is a beach of Lincoln Road in the 90s. Remember those days? So this is a meditation on that, what we had, what we've lost, and what we will never lose in terms of what we remember. That night at the Rackham Room, she talked me into a pool hall, strung out on tequila and cafecito, a gang of troubadours singing her praises. Damn, baby, you so fine, as we walked in. And she was. The kind of girl who could get away with Brazilian jeans. I was coming off a bed rest pregnancy, skin stretched soft and loose, a half-racked game. But with her, I felt bold and pliable. Shards of never say never stuck in my throat. I wasn't good at geometry, how to control the crash of the cue ball, the candy-coated orbs that scattered into constellations across the felt, but she kissed me for luck and took her shot, all angles and elbows, taking them down with a click of the stick, the suckers who lined up just to watch her bend over that table. Hair blazing a trail toward the sun that rose out of the low-slung horizon of her waistline, a single dot that chased its tail into a swirl I rode, knowing even then everything spirals downward. But she kept shooting me smiles, sinking one after the other, me along with them. So thank you. If you don't live in South Florida, and I'm not even going to say Florida, but South Florida, you do not know about Publix and all the things that take place in Publix aside from the sub, but there's a little bit of serendipity there. And this poem, this true story, I was shopping for Thanksgiving. I saw an ex's father in line, and the poem was born. I ran home. I threw my groceries in the refrigerator, and I pretty much wrote this first draft. So it is a Thanksgiving poem, and I'm reading it in celebration of what's happening. Soon, raisins in the stuffing. In the end, it would have come down to this: where to go for Thanksgiving. And every November, we would have argued over whose turn it was to give in. Yes, we would have drooled over our own extravagant meals, studded with candied marigolds, French truffles foraged by dogs trained to seek out succulence, only to give it back again. And we'd tell each other it was worth it. But in time, you would have thought my mother's turkey heavy on the garlic, and I would have complained about the raisins in your father's famous stuffing. And on those Thursdays, when our ex-husbands took their turn feeding our children, we'd miss the noise we'd taken for granted and blame each other for the silence draped across the table every other year. So I'm going to end with this poem. Again, it's another South Florida poem. It's about a tunnel. And the first time I went through a tunnel in Miami Beach, I didn't even realize we had those. It was such a moment for me. That's how insulated I was in Westchester. So I'm always kind of thrilled to go through tunnels. So taking the Sunrise Tunnel. Call this your life. Passageway gouged in the ground, cylinder burrowed in earth, hollow into which clouds are buried. Listen to the hum as you barrel via concrete, shrouded water bookended by light. The asphalt has crumbled below the wheels it meant to cushion. No patch exists to stop the crack beneath every revolution. The flyover would be faster, but you can't outrun the underpass. You can't ascend the chasm. You can't hold your breath and delve beneath. The only way is through. Through. Thank you so much. And congratulations again, Nicole.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love your poems. Oh man. Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I see we've had some more people joining us. So I want to thank all of you. And oh my God, Leela, hi, my biffle is here. So you missed it when I tried to pour the margarita out of the beautiful deer shaker you gave me. It was quite the moment. But anyway, I'm going to try to read a few poems. The tequila's kicking in. I'm sure you can tell by the way I'm talking. So wow, that's a strong drink. I'm going to try to keep things kind of light, but my book is a little heavy and a little light. So I'm just going to read a few poems and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to read, actually, before I do that, I just want to say this cover was designed by Lori Marshall, who is here. If you are in need of a cover designer, she is absolutely fantastic. Lori, thank you so much for this beautiful cover and for indulging me in my craziness. When I just sent her this message, I need Miami colors. I need it to involve the Medusa Versace logo, and I need a deer head on it. She's probably like, this girl is batshit, but she did this for me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you, Lori. I'll start with Versace, which is the first poem in this book. Versace. I moved to Miami because of the Golden Girls in the conga. True story. Versace and a job offer may have played a small role. I took a government job, so I'm wearing Versace. That's not a typo. I can't afford the real Versace, at least not in suit form. Forgive me, Gianni. So much here is plastic, it's almost impossible for nature to stand out. No, I didn't move here for the weather. That was actually a deterrent. I spent the first year in the AC anyway. I miss the Four Seasons. I miss my mother. She died 6 years ago. Ovarian cancer. It was awful. What cancer isn't? Maybe the astrological sign. I should know. I am one. Don't think I'm awful. You can ask my partner. Yes, I'm gay. She's a Pisces. She may be biased because her moon is in Cancer, though. You know, I feel like being a little flippant today. So let's read Poem for Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton is a better poet than I am. She says that's hot and sliving, and people listen. Everyone repeat after Paris. I'm sliving. If you aren't watching Cooking with Paris, you aren't sliving. Paris says sliving is the new that's hot. Paris says it's slaying and living your best life in one word. Paris is a genius. Don't be jealous. If you're a poet and you aren't watching Cooking with Paris, you should be. Paris is coining language with every episode. Cotton candy is just sugar with more personality. She said that during my favorite episode, Taco Night with Sweetie. Paris and Sweetie cooking shrimp tacos in couture, that's living. She also said, newsflash, truffle oil is rich bitch shit. And then she said, Sweetie should totally trademark that. Yes, Sweetie should, before Paris does. Loves it. The Oxford Dictionary of Quotes takes Paris's words seriously. So does dictionary.com. Look it up. Are any words you invented in any dictionary? I didn't think so. I invented a word. It's Versace. I'm trademarking it right here. Versace. It's the word for fake or faux if you're French or fancy. Versace products. I see a lot of Versace in Miami. Maybe Paris will read this poem and say Versace during the next season of Cooking with Paris. There will be a season 2 someday, right, Netflix? Kim, what do you think about those poor people in Miami who can only afford Versace? It's so sad. They aren't sliving. Bam, Versace goes viral. Versace gets added to dictionary.com. Maybe I'll get some royalties for my creative capital and can buy some real Versace. Maybe people will listen to my words. Maybe I'll be as good a poet as Paris Hilton is. You know, I gotta go a little dark. It's fall, although it never feels like fall in Miami, but I digress. This one's for my mother, Fall. Fall died on January 3rd, 2006, when I officially moved to Florida. Fall was my mother's favorite season before she died. I think it was probably mine too, but I'm no longer sure what I love. Do I just love everything that my mother did? The leaves falling from trees turning blue. They say blue is the warmest color, but I say it's orange. My mother painted so many stills of trees. She said her favorite color was red, but she painted all the leaves bright orange. I never asked her why. I was too self-absorbed to ask her much of anything. When my friend Elle mailed me 2 of my dead mother's paintings, I cried for days. All the bright orange I remembered had faded to brown. My mother hated brown. I fingered the canvases of our past for clues. She told me to look inside. I think I'm just gonna read 2 more because wow, that hit me. Okay, so I've had a couple of people ask me, why don't you write more poems that rhyme? And I'm gonna right now demonstrate to you why I don't write more poems that rhyme by reading the short love poem for Miami I wrote. Short love poem for Miami. I love the sideways rain in April. I love the jungle heat of July. I love when the days and the nights blush pinker. I love how everyone escapes inside. I love the turquoise of the ocean. I love Versace's pool on Ocean Drive. I love my mojitos with extra mint. I love my ceviche with extra lime. I love sharing a colada with colleagues. I love how the cicadas staccato time. I love the neon green iguanas. I love the mangoes polka dotting the sky. I love the manatees moving slowly. I love Miami's year-round natural high. So I think you can see I'm not really good at rhyming, which is why I don't do it very often. But hey, you know, you got to try things out. So I'm going to end on this poem, which is a long love poem for Miami. And I had the pleasure of having part of it picked up in the Miami Herald, which was kind of a cool thing. I think newspapers should publish more poetry in general. And I'm going to be reading at the book fair this year. On the 19th, actually, I'd like to take a quick minute to plug that. I'll be reading at 11 o'clock from both Versace and Poems for the People, my book that came out in February. And then at 4 o'clock, I'm going to be reading with some of the people who are here. We're going to be doing a tribute to our dear friend, Maureen Seaton. So if you're around and able to attend that, it's going to be a really, really beautiful event. And I have to say, I'm kind of sad Maureen isn't here today. You know, she also blurbed Versace, and she was my first reader. And gave me a lot of feedback on poems. And I was going to read something for her, but I don't think I could get through it without crying. So I'm just going to read a few pages of the long love poem for Miami because it is indeed really long. So this is long love poem for Miami. I love that Miami is sexy and isn't afraid to seduce you. I love how Noche Buena is a bigger celebration here than Christmas Day. I love watching the fireworks from my poolside balcony the day after my birthday. I love how mango and avocado season encourage people to share. I love sharing a colada with colleagues. I love the joy people take in watching me try new local dishes for the first time. I love watching the moon with M from our balcony. I love the Standard Hotel and the fire pit there the most. I love how I first met Gloria Estefan at the Freedom Tower. I love that Sofia Vergara travels to Miami often and that one day I may meet her. I love that I've slept in the same house as Madonna, Elton John, and Princess Di. I love the pool at Casa Casarina. I love that there's a new Maserati, Porsche, Range Rover, Rolls Royce, and a Corvette parked near my 2011 Mustang in my apartment building's garage. I love Le Chat Noir that unfortunately closed down. I love the ritual of happy hour on Thursdays. I love that I got to edit a Golden Girls zine from Miami. I love the Golden Girls shirt that my friend Elle bought me one year for my birthday. I love that it took me moving here to realize that the Golden Girls house is a historical landmark in Los Angeles, not Miami. I love that Blanche couldn't have accepted Harry's proposal at the actual Joe's Stone Crab either. I love lobster and stone crab season, and especially the stone crab from Joe's. I'm going to skip ahead because there's a long ass poem here. Oh, I love that there's a store called No Que Barato. I freaking love that. Okay. I love that Gianni's has a $24 margarita with flakes of 24 karat gold. I'm just jumping around here because I want to give shout outs to people. I love Fairchild Garden and the jazz concerts under the moon. I love that Manolo and Renee and Cafe Tony are open 24 hours. It's especially convenient when I have insomnia. Oh, even though she's not here, I love the person who taught me the word putica. And I love that I thought that it was the word for a doll. And if you speak Spanish, you know what that is. And I love that there is only the letter N that separates the words bridge and whore in Spanish. I find that really fascinating. I love that I said gay 13 times in this book. And I love anyone who defends that right. And I love people who buy this book anyway. And I love the people who buy extra copies of it. And I love, let's see, I love that no one wears pantyhose here. I really love that. And I love that Gordo is a term of endearment. And I love, oh my gosh, because she's here, and I don't know if she noticed it, but I love that on Sundays, I love listening to jazz on Sundays, thanks to DJ Swanky. Yes, I do. And Adam, I love you, even though you're not there. I know you can hear me, and Stevie's sleeping. And I love that Richard Blanco is our poet laureate. And I love being our county's poetry ambassador. And I love the Miami poets. And I think we need our own school. And I love seeing Miami through both local and tourist eyes. And I love when people think I don't understand Spanish and the things I get to overhear as a result. And I love everyone who adds to this poem. And I want to thank you all again for being here with me. I really appreciate it. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you on Saturday. Thank you all so much for being here. And I am going to do what good poets do, and that is give you back a little bit of your time and end right here. So I'm leaving you with a little bit more. Jared, thank you so much for being such a gracious host, and for your friendship and everything that you do for our community as well. Even though you're not here, you do a lot. So thank you, Jared. And thank you all again for being here. I hope you have a great Saturday. And is there anything you want to say before we close, Jared?
No, I just, what I'm really love about this whole event, aside from your wonderful poetry, is just the way in which it's very clear that you are a pillar of the poetry community. And I mean that in like your brightness and the way in which everybody responds to it and the way in which you bring everybody together. And it's something we desperately need all the time. And you are always there for it. And I'm just happy to be a part of that. So thank you for doing that and being a part of that. You're just a wonderful person. And this is a great collection and everybody should buy it, which I'm putting in the chat, everybody's links for their books that read today. Go buy them. And thank you so much.
And please buy everyone else's books too. All the other readers and poets are here. Support poetry as much as you can. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Saturday, and I'll see some of you soon. I love you all. Thank you.